3, 4 years in exile. Liberia now, elections are held. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a seasoned United Nations employee, she was running against a young upstart, kid who grew up in the slums, but made his name in the football fields of AC Milan, Chelsea, and many others. George Weah. Can you imagine? A kid from the slums was running against a seasoned United Nations diplomat. Sure enough, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf won. I think George must have been convinced to just take it easy for a while because Liberia was coming out of a very tumultuous place. He surrendered the president. Ellen Johnson was elected. She did 2 terms. And in the meantime, Weah went to school, got a degree, came back, ran as senator first, got a little bit of experience, and he was the one elected to succeed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We were actually in Liberia in July 2019 on the Independence Day, the 172nd anniversary of the country's independence. And there was George Weah. And he and I had, we knew each other from back in the day. And, we got to interview him a little later on. But that's where Liberia had come to. In the meantime, Charles Taylor has agreed to come to Nigeria rather. He's in exile. He's there for a couple of years. And then, here's where things get really murky. The deal was to keep Taylor in exile. Otherwise, the International Criminal Court would go and get him wherever he was. If he ever left Nigeria, he would be a subject as a most wanted in the ICC. In the meantime, President Obasanjo was thinking about running for a 3rd term, which wasn't in the Constitution, but he was thinking. And he was invited to Washington to go discuss this with President Bush Jr. He gets to Washington, they're discussing that event. In the meantime, Charles Taylor is tipped. He's in Cross River State in Nigeria, remember? He's tipped that he's about to be arrested. He escapes, runs to the border, or drives to the border, tries to get across the border. An alert border guard sees him, arrests him on the border between Liberia and Cameroon. Arrests him, and they take flying back to Abuja. All this time the news is out. ICC Dragnet is now closing in. From Abuja, he's flown all the way to Freetown, Sierra Leone. Remember where all that madness started? It is said that Taylor was the mastermind behind all the small boys unit, the RUF, the Revolutionary United Front. Taylor was the mastermind. So let's take him back to the source. We got the word from Lagos, flew all the way to Freetown, Sierra Leone, just in time to see the helicopter landing. Taylor, remember the powerful president? Taylor coming out of the helicopter in handcuffs and leg irons. I have never seen such a turn of events. He's put in a prison there. He's going to be arraigned the next morning. We are there. We film all that. And then it's decided, you know what? It's too dangerous for this Liberian president to be tried next door in Sierra Leone. It's going to cause a lot of anxiety and friction and maybe even violence. So they decide, you know what? This special court for Sierra Leone, we're going to take it all the way to The Hague. And it'll be called the Special Court for Sierra Leone. And that's where Taylor was tried. For the next 3-4 years, he was in trial. Until in the very end, the judges brought back a verdict. That verdict? 50 years in prison without the possibility of parole. By the way, Taylor by then was about 65 years old. Do the math. 65 plus 50, that's a life sentence. That's exactly what he got for being the mastermind of all the violence from late 1989 to the earliest part of the century. Can you imagine? 50 years. Unbelievable. For a man I'd spent so much time with, but he was the typical African warlord. By the way, Liberia, now still a lot of tension, still a lot of up and down. George Weah is still president. And now the original Americo-Liberians, they don't like the idea of a native, a Mandingo being president. So those are the things that he has to deal with on a daily basis. But he has the support of the people. He has the support of the international community. He has that background as an incredible player. First ever FIFA Player of the Year from Africa. Still a lot of hope in the young man, and we can only wish him nothing but the best. But Liberia, carved out of nothing, named after the word liberty, and hardly ever living up to its name, but still a special place. Because, by the way, it's the only country in Africa that was never colonized. It was never colonized. Yes, it was created as a colony for freed African American slaves, but it was never colonized by the colonizers. Still a lot of hope. That's all we can live on. That was chapter 11, African Warlord, in my journey of discovery, as seen through my African eyes. Thanks so much for being a part of this series, folks. It's been a pleasure telling you about my life as a journalist, as an African covering the continent, and being able to put it in words. Because I know many of you, the majority, will never be able to get a front row seat like I did. This was my front row seat. Journalism was my vehicle. And it will always be when it comes to telling a story and a chapter a day.